So what we're trying to do here is just to walk through how I'd go about creating a campaign. So from a structure standpoint, workflow, um, variations in headlines and body copy and how I think about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would probably make sense to, like, after we start running this for a couple hours, for you to understand what I do during those couple hours, because that's also pretty interesting. So we'll just um, we'll just jump in. So the first thing that I do is pretty much just find any like existing link click ad and just duplicate it. I just find it easier than creating it from scratch. So I
Okay.
know that what we're going for is link clicks. So I just copy one,
And you don't
and
like using
then
dynamic ads, right?
so I had never used dynamic ads until I used it for a different client, and there's um, some things about it that really don't work for me, which is that like you can't see data of the individual ads, and so there are like some things when I'm going through, and I'll notice that like the ads, any ad with this particular creative or any ad with this particular headline is doing the best. And you don't have insight into that when you use dynamic creative because it tries to just do it all for you. And so you lose some of this like user feedback about what images work or things, other things long term. So, and the demands on workflow are not that high. Like the duplicating the ads is really um, not that complicated, at least for me. And so the additional data is worth a little extra time,
No,
is
no,
how I think about it.
yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. I remember it was just something we had talked about, so that was all. That you didn't really use them, so I was just wondering what your reasoning was.
So I'm just going to call it something that we understand. You can refine that later if you want. Um, okay, I don't want campaign budget optimization. So I'll just publish that. It's going to give me an error probably. So now we have our campaign. I'll just reconfigure. It's not done anymore. So here's our campaign, and then uh, I would pick who are we going to run this to. This is
Okay.
going to be wide. So this, well, it's I usually distinguish the ad sets based on the the people that I'm targeting, and if it's different for every platform. So, for instance, it would be like men 34 to 55 with this interest, United States, Instagram, right? So it's like kind of puts together all the different pieces of what you would decide in an ad set. But ours, we're going to be like, maybe we should name it at the end once we do the targeting. Okay, so we're at the ad set level. That budget we can figure out later. So we have a lookalike audience right now.
Mhm.
Um, so why don't we just run the lookalike as one? So that would be okay.
Okay.
So, and then what I'll do from here is I'll figure out all of the ads, and then once I figure out all the ads, I will go back to the ad sets and I'll duplicate the ad set so that I don't have to create the ads again, and I'll just change the audience.
Okay.
So from here, the first thing I do is um, just when we need to start at one, so I'll just delete all those. Okay, so that is ES action. What's that doc called? In action. Yeah. on the dementia blog, isn't it? I
Mhm.
can't. Too many Google Docs going around. Dementia clinical. I can't tell if these are the same or not.
One is yeah, the blog, and then the other is got all the
Yeah.
specifics.
So this is the blog. Do you have a web URL yet or no?
Let me check. I did not see a notification from Lighthouse yet.
Okay, that's okay.
Let me just. It's still open, so I don't think Matt's gotten to
Okay,
it.
cool. No worries. We don't need that right now.
Okay.
Um, so I'll just reset some of these things. I just copied the headline. So I'll start with,
Can I ask you a question really quick that's not necessarily
yeah,
related?
interject whenever.
For So I had a lot of trouble finding creative that already existed. Is there anywhere else that these photos, for example, I just noticed that photo, I hadn't seen it anywhere on the team drive. I was looking under marketing images and then the Z archive. Is there anywhere else that those would be that we've used?
You'd have to ask Tim. This was created within the past month.
Oh, sorry, I meant the one
Just
before.
based.
When you
Oh, with
were,
that lady.
yeah.
Mm, that might have been stock. But again, I would ask either Tim or Devin.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And if you can also, once you upload it onto Facebook, there's um, you should be able to access everything that's been uploaded. So if you could look through here too if you were looking for stuff.
Yeah, I did see that. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll just upload all these. Oops, I guess you can only go one by one. Okay. And then it doesn't matter which one, so we'll just pick this one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, hmm, it doesn't look like it really fits this picture, but
Okay.
we'll let it ride. It's fine. It's good. My intuition says that this is not going to be the highest performing picture.
Oh,
So the next thing, so we'll get rid of that. So we have the headline. I modified it slightly. So I put, first off, I shortened it because you look, this is going to get cut off.
yeah.
So what I want people to know first is that it was a study.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of why I shifted that around, and then we'll do different variations. The next thing that I would do is go back into this case.
Mm-hmm.
For the body copy, what I found works best is something that's short and punchy and just includes a fact that's somehow buried in the article. So, or a quote or something like that, but it's short and it just like is it's not even really like a cliffhanger. It just like alludes to what's going on. Um, so like the first one I would do is maybe this one. Um, and that would be the body text.
Okay.
So this is a little longer than I want, but it's basically like what I'm trying to get here is that like there was a study and it was like legitimate. So there's numbers and it's where it came from, blah, 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 blah. The website URL where it's TBD, the newsfeed description link doesn't show up in all of the ones. So I'll typically just like pick something and just leave it across the board because the newsfeed link description is not an important variable in this equation.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I would just pick um, let's do this. Okay, so we just pick something and leave it at that. It's probably not going to show up in most of the placements that we're working with anyway. Delete this URL tracking parameter and it'll reset itself. We'll insert the website URL when we get it, and a display link. So for now we're good, and then we'll change the title. So this will be like boldly square. So the way I do this is creative comes first, headline comes second, body text comes third.
Okay.
And that just helps when we're going through the optimization portion.
Mm-hmm.
That's the order of how I have seen them impact the results. So it's usually the picture is the most important, the headline's the second most important, and the body's the third. So now that we have that, we probably aren't not going to be able to publish it because of this. So let's just put a placeholder right now. Okay. So now we can probably publish it. I'll get out. So then I'll take that and I'll duplicate it, and I'll change one thing. So let's just change the headline. That kind of feels like the headline to me. The one that we just put here.
Yeah.
I'm just looking through this. 70% original.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll try one more.
Mm-hmm.
So this one I'm gonna have to piece together. So it's study finds only a minority of residents with dementia are in special care units. I think the first one's going to do better, but there are instances where there are more opportunities to change the headline.
Mm-hmm.
This one's kind of cut and dry.
Right.
So I would do that. And then I would change this. So just something so it helps me recall what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I'd publish that one. And then you'll see that like as we start going through the duplication, it gets easier.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have these two, and then we're going to take them both, and we're going to quick duplicate. And then from here, we're just going to change the text.
Okay.
So now we're actually working on two ads that have different headlines, and we're going to change the text. And so this one, I'm going to put I like that this little snippet, only a minority or in special care units. We don't want to give something away that's like too far down.
Mhm.
Hmm. So I'm trying to think if we could shorten this without it getting like convoluted, because this is it's repetitive with the headline. So
Yeah.
let's um, I'm not in love with this, but um, for the sake of testing, let's just do that.
Okay.
And then we'll do one more body copy edit, and then we'll duplicate all 6 and change the image to all 6. And so the process gets faster as we go.
Mhm.
So then we would, oops, I forgot to change the names of these two. So this probably comes out as copy. Yeah. So this is so it's kind of duplicative, but that's fine. And then we do the same thing on this one, just so it's all clear what we're trying to do.
Mhm.
Okay, then we go back to these two. So the two that we just changed, we click duplicate them, we try one more headline. If I can get this screen share thing to go away, please. Go away. Okay. Um, okay, and then this one seems fine.
Mhm.
Right, this one seems pretty impactful.
Yep.
So, like I said, statistic or quote seems to work well. We don't want to give away our our interpretation of the article or our recommendation or some of the meat toward the bottom of the paragraph. So usually it's nice to just like lead with something that would be like eye catchy and say like, oh, I want to like read more, which is usually fact based and things like that.
Okay.
Um,
That makes sense.
so then we have these two, and we just kind of okay. So that works, and then we'll kind of just so we'll publish, and we'll go back and change the titles. Cool.
Mhm.
Okay, so now we have all of our different variations, and now we'll just take all 6 of them
Mhm.
and duplicate. And honestly, I wouldn't usually test 5 images because you're going to see that like now we have 5 images and 6 things, so we're going to have 30 variations, and it seems um, excessive for a campaign of this size. The most I've ever done is like 28, and we had a far like larger budget with that particular ad set. Um, but that's okay. So we'll change this image. and then maybe this one's fine. And the square really does make a difference. So I'm going to try and do that.
Okay.
Um,
Actually gonna be a question I asked you, so that just answered
yeah,
it.
the more screen real estate you can take up, the better. So like the 5:4 video is the best, but I just don't really like running video ads um, for B2B purposes. It's
Mhm.
not that I don't like them; it's just that it's harder to create and it's more difficult to measure the results, and so I just kind of moved away from them. Um,
So
so,
then
and they didn't have a one. Go ahead.
no, you're fine. Go ahead. I'll remember it.
And then all I was going to say is that they didn't have a square option on Facebook images until recently, so it was always 16:9 widescreen.
That was actually gonna be my question. I was gonna ask if there would be a time that you'd recommend 16:9 because it seems to look pretty good in Facebook feeds, but outside of that, I was wondering if there was a situation
Um,
you would.
so LinkedIn, you have to do it 16:9, and the only time to use 16:9 over 1:1. So first off, if you're posting organically on Facebook, which I don't recommend, but if you were, then I think you have to do 16:9 for a link ad. I think that's how it formats. Um, and the only time I would do it on an ad is if you need the full widescreen to show what you're trying to show.
Okay.
So if cropping is not feasible, then it would make sense to do it that way.
Okay.
So I'm just going to pick 4 out of the 5 here. We're going to skip this one, like with this lady holding a stress ball.
Mhm.
Um, so you can see now we kind of have like 6 versions of things with 3 forms of creative, and we'll do one more with the last image. Um, okay. I wonder if that lady knew she was going to be our poster child for a dementia blog when she got that photograph taken of her. Um,
Probably not.
okay. So, so we'll review and publish all of them, and we'll skip that because that's an error. So let's get them all published, and then the next thing is just going to be like cleaning up the naming, which is just appropriately calling out the image in the first one of each one, which is tedious, but it just makes it when we're doing the optimization, just makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, yeah. That's not a problem.
Okay, so this also could be called Old Lady Square. That should be all of these ones.
Mhm.
So this one is just, it's purely for us to organize. It's all that we're doing here.
Mhm.
And so you can see how this can be a little bit more tedious than
Dynamic.
dynamic creative, but
Yeah.
you'll see on the back end why I prefer it this way. The old lady square ones are all set, so make they're done. Okay, so this one's not. Come on. Just slowly find all the ones that we need. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need one more. Okay, there it is. Okay, and then those are all published, and then we see that we have like this pretty well structured if we sort it by the ad name, then all the creatives organized. And then when we get into the results running, well, I'll show you some budget strategies so that they all get delivered fast. And then we'll just be looking at, they changed these recently because this is not how I would want to see it. So then we would look at things like clicks, click-through rate,
Mm-hmm.
um, and be able to make more. They're quantitative, but they're also qualitative. So we'll see, oh, there's a trend toward this picture working, or this thing is definitely not working, or blah 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 blah. And then what we'll do is we'll slowly narrow it down to between 1 and 2, and eventually 1 will be the clear winner.
Yep.
And then we just run that one once we've gone through the testing.
Okay.
So if we wanted to right now, we could duplicate the ad set and create a different audience. And then we could have 2 parallel optimizations going. That might make sense for this one, because I don't really know what I don't know what the audience contents are of this activity connection look like pixel. Like, I don't know that they have these interests, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So I would take this and I would just duplicate the entire ad set. So we're going to get all of the ads that we just created.
Right.
Again, here's the copy, and then we'll do like dementia, interest, adults or something. We can
Mm-hmm.
rename that later, but that's kind of what we'll do. And I got to hop off in a couple minutes.
Okay.
So, and then from there, I would just go, it should be a lot bigger than that. It's like this seems good enough. Like, we could go a little deeper, but this is 1.5 million people.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's take this down just a little bit. I think that's fine for the beginning.
Okay.
So it's just like, this is very broad. What we're going to do here is run these 2 in parallel. We're
Mm-hmm.
going to create a new pixel that's just looking at the people that click on the ads and go. So how we're doing is that they landed on the page that we know that we're driving them to.
Mm-hmm.
So if they land on the blog, then we'll put them in a bucket. And then when that bucket gets big enough, maybe we'll either use retargeting, or we'll create a lookalike audience based on the people that already clicked the ad. So
Right.
it kind of like is a self-serving filter. That's where we're going. But for now, this seems fine.
Okay.
So, and that's kind of all publishing. So at some point, we're going to need to go in and update the URL to the right one. So just let me know whenever that's ready,
Okay.
or you can do it yourself. Just click on all the ads and then change that property for all of the ads.
Okay.
Um,
I can go ahead and update it when it's ready. So,
okay.
and also, I didn't.
And then, sorry.
I was gonna say also, I don't know if you want me to put this. I didn't forget about the recap email. I've just been in meetings since we stopped talking, so I can also give you an update if there is one in that email by the end of today.
Um, I already forgot what we had talked about. So what was that?
No, I was saying I can add all of this like stuff to the recap email
Oh,
from earlier.
okay, perfect. Yeah, take your time. I understand.
So just wanted to
Um,
if there were any things you wanted me to add from this conversation. I know you said you had to hop off, so I just wanted to make sure that there was next steps in case.
um, yeah. So the next steps is just if you can update that the URL,
Mhm.
just the actual URL. So there's a display URL too. Just
Yeah,
keep the display URL blank. So just the website URL. Update that to the actual blog post
absolutely.
URL.
Okay.
In both ad sets. So there's two ad sets for all the ads.